You may be in your car right now thinking, well, that's true because I write the same apps as Billy Bob over there, but
Billy Bob's crushing it, dude.
Billy Bob works hard.
Yes,
he does. He does. He's very driven. But he has the same number of apps, but the premium is way lower.
Yeah.
And that's a big effect, and it's all about peeling back the layers of need. It's finding out the true value and then understanding that as an agent, but not just understanding it, it's helping your client realize it.
I will say this in this conversation, the thing I hope people are hearing at the start of this is there's not, Billy Bob does not have superpowers. That should be the title of this podcast. Billy Bob does not, he is normal, just like you, person, average person. Billy Bob knows a skill set and a process, and he implements the process. I had recommended a book recently to an agent, and they had said, "Chris, this is blowing my mind because I used to think this was like, magic. I'd see other people talk about it, but now I see, oh, there's a system in place for this." So this podcast is a system podcast, and you can write more premium that sticks. Would you like to write more premium that sticks?
Yeah.
That's what I want to
Wow.
hear. That's what I want to hear. That's what this
The
podcast is about.
enthusiasm is off the charts right now.
Oh, man.
Because they're not different than you. That's what you need to hear. I mean, that's what I needed to hear. When I was starting, like there were people who
You know
had,
what I've heard, Chris?
what's that?
That need is like onions. They cry? No. They make you stink? They get yellow in the sun when you leave them out? No. Well, what about parfait?
Oh, here we go. I was like, where's he going with this? But
No. Need has layers, donkey.
And he's got the green shirt on
he
today.
shreked it up.
He's got the
man.
green shirt on today.
The
You
crap
Shrek.
out of that.
You did, dude. You did.
You
Absolutely.
misquoted it.
I
Not my
cheer
best
you.
delivery, but
I cheer you.
you
for
got
that.
it.
Good job,
eventually.
buddy. Good.
Awesome.
Good
Let's
job, donkey.
dive into peeling back those layers of what need is and how
Absolutely.
we're going to make these people some more money.
Absolutely. So one thing we have to understand is we can undersell a policy. We can definitely undersell a policy by not having or realizing as an agent and then translating that to our client to the full need. So we may go into a home and only take care of the burial coverage, and we'll get to that as far as the layers go. But we're over there just surface level trying to get a policy and leaving, where on the other side of that, Chris might come behind me and sit with that same client for whatever reason. They may have filled out another request, or he's just that good looking because he's working with that face. But he may come behind me and sit with the client and not necessarily worry about that surface level or basic need, but he may be listening and diving in and revealing all the layers. And what that does is that's going to open it up to the client that there's so much more that they weren't aware of. And all of a sudden now he's going to write another policy on top of that. Or a lot of times he'll end up replacing mine because it's a better value and an overall better for the client in that situation.
I built my career off of replacing Zach's policies.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You probably never replaced one of my policies.
We can bet on that.
I set booby traps
Just
on them.
teasing.
It shoots
There's a mousetrap in the
as soon as
folder.
you open the policy to review it, it shoots ink on you.
Dad, he did it again.
No, but it's important because you want to write the proper amount of business because that takes care of your client for the long term and takes care of all their needs, not only now but in the future. And you also don't want chargebacks. But you can oversell a policy, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
You can oversell a need that may not be there, and you can overprice a policy to where it doesn't really fit and it's not sustainable. So then you get a chargeback on the other side.
Yeah, and this is true for whether you sell face to face. This is true whether you sell over the phone. This is true for mortgage protection, final expense.
This is cross industry. I mean, this is true everywhere.
Yeah.
It really is. And our goal here is to be able to read the client situation and find where need, value, and affordability intersect together and to find that perfect little combination.
Okay, say those three again.
Need, value, and affordability, they all come together and intersect. That's going to be your perfect policy.
That's perfect, man. Good stuff.
For the nerds, that's the center of the Venn diagram.
Everybody just jumped off.
I know.
the call.
I'm sorry.
Thanks, buddy.
I'm sorry.
Podcast
All right,
over.
so-
We're out.
All right. So where can we find this need? Where can we build this need up?
Well, the first thing is a client obviously sends a request in, right? At some capacity, it could be any type of leads, and check out our leads podcast.
Yep.
policy.
Chris, what's a lead, real quick?
A lead is an opportunity to talk to somebody. Episode 47. I'm just kidding. I was throwing out a random episode, but yes, it's an opportunity to have.
Maybe
a
we can edit
conversation.
that and drop the episode right in there.
66.
It'll go. Need is it? And then
66.
it's going to say episode 66.
Absolutely.
There you go.
That was pretty good, by the way.
Thank you, bud. I was close.
That was.
Not really.
You should listen to 47. I don't know what it is,
It's
but it's a great
ballin'.
episode.
Oh, they're all great. But the reason they really do that is because they're curious. And a lot of times as an agent, we can assume they know exactly what they want, or they know they can identify the exact feeling that's inside of them. And that's not true. We just know there's a curiosity and there's a vulnerability, and they may not even be able to put words to what they're feeling or why. And so that starts our process of peeling back the layers of need. And the first one, Chris, is simple. This is the one that everybody thinks. They may think there's only one layer, and that's, having some sort of burial or cremation expense coverage just for that amount.
Right. Yeah. And typically we're going to say that the cost on that, I mean, this is this is their external need. We've talked about that several times on what the possibility of this is. But this external need, the cost on that is going to range from what? We're going to say $8,000 to $12,000.
Sure. And then it could range depending on your area, or depend on what the client, the client's buddy they have at the funeral home. That everybody seems to know somebody. So understanding that, but it's the most obvious. It's the external need. It's the surface level need.
And it may be, it's what it was possibly on the lead, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it said something about final expenses.
It
Now,
triggered it.
And the same is true on the mortgage protection side.
Absolutely.
Right? So it would be taking care of your home in case of a death.
Yep.
That would be the case. It is
Yep.
the obvious external.
Absolutely. So the number one layer here is burial cremation expenses. It's the simplest. And there's so many agents out there, so many agents that I train that literally they go into a home and that's their only goal is to sell a burial or cremation policy. Here you go. Here's your prices. Which one's best for you? Perfect. Great. We'll get you taken care of. And they never take the time to listen. They never take the time to analyze or get to know the clients to figure out what that situation is. And it's really a mindset shift, because we're not necessarily protecting against a burial or protecting against a cremation. We're actually protecting that beneficiary from a burden.
Yeah.
Which is a whole lot different mindset when you come to think about that. And so that's going to lead us into our second layer, which is beyond taking care of that initial burial or cremation. It's going to go right into taking care of the future cost of that burial or cremation. And that's really putting a little inflation cost and setting expectations.
When
That accounts for the Bitcoin US dollar cash that's going up. So it's just going to keep going. So
that's really good. When you talk about inflation costs, like what is it when you're teaching the agents how to have this mindset? How are they figuring that out? Like, are they just going to pull a number out? Like, hey, you're going to live another 20 years. And we both know that the cost of a burial is going to be $700,000. Is that what they're doing? Because you're going to sell a lot of
I feel like
apps.
you've said that before. But
Dude, my AP was like, on that one was like $15,000 a month.
oh, absolutely.
kidding me?
gosh.
You get away with more than most agents could, by far.
Yes.
I mean, especially, I know that's a little off topic, but you go to the door and like, how long is this going to take? Oh, just about 6 hours.
I do that. For real, I do that.
You do. But the way to teach that is again, we can't tell our clients that. We have to help them realize that. So one thing that I like to do, and this is all inside of our no-close presentation. That is amazing. So this walks you through this anyways.
Perfect.
So honestly, if you're unsure how to do this, the presentation does it for you. That's the good thing. So I want to ask them, I want to give them usually the average cost of a burial and cremation, which is generally between $8,000 to $12,000. On the burial side, cremation really, could be 5 to 8, or on the cremation side. But I want to ask them, who have they lost, who's passed away, and I'm trying to gauge an idea of how much they think it costs. Because I don't want to get into, no, it's this, no, it's that, or I have a buddy. That really doesn't matter. That's not what we're here to talk about. But once I get an idea of what they think it costs, then I'll say, yeah, and that's today's cost. And they're going to be like, yeah. And I'll say, now, Mr. Jones, I don't plan on you dying today, do we? He's like, oh, no, not at all. So we need to make sure we have enough coverage in place for when you die, not necessarily today. Because one thing I don't want, Mr. Jones, is I don't want you to have to call me in another 5 to 10 years to see, hey, man, the prices went up because everything's going so crazy that we're going to need to add a little bit more coverage. Because that's also going to be based upon your age and health at that time. And right now, you're probably as young, as healthy as you'll ever be, right? And he'll agree with me on that. But I use some statistics inside of that, which is also on the No Close presentation. And I'll let him know, I'll say, Mr. Chris, the average man lives to about 77, 78 years old. The average woman lives to about 81. And then I'll do a little math based upon their age. So if our client, 65, say, so just on average, you have another, probably about 12 to 15 years on average as far as living. Now, in 12 to 15 years, Mr. Chris, do you think that funeral cost is going to stay the same, or do you think it's going to go up more?
Where's Zach?
Absolutely. Now, just curious, what did milk cost when you were a kid, or what was gas, or
38 cents?
Right, a nickel, right? So then I'll make it related back to something real. It's something in their life, and it kind of makes it a fun little atmosphere. So what it's doing is it's planting the seed, and it's planting the expectation of inflation. Oh, this is the prices today. I'm probably not going to die today. I don't plan on dying today. So when it comes to taking care of my family, I need to make sure I have enough coverage for when I pass, not necessarily today.
That planting seed, you talk about that a lot, and it's almost like you're creating a FOMO, or a fear of missing out on providing for their family.
Absolutely. Because at the end of all this, like when you really understand final expenses and you really understand taking care of families or any sales, we're not selling a policy. We're providing them, we're selling them the peace of mind of this burden not being left on whoever.
Right.
So that's the need.
And the time that's involved in that. It doesn't stop in 5 years. It doesn't stop at 10 years. The kids will always be kids. Family will always be family. So this is, you're saying this external, the language we use in this conversation that we have is everybody has an external need. They also have an internal need. Mm-hmm. And that's really what you're speaking to, but helping them understand there's a time process inside of that external need.
Yes.
Correct?
And this is the start of that internal need. So right there, that already takes you to a whole nother level, because you may have been thinking, oh, I'm writing $8,000-$10,000 policies, but you didn't tell them, hey, Mr. Jones, you need more, right? You just asked questions, as far as setting expectations of age, setting expectations of price, setting expectations of inflation. And now we're not even showing prices yet because we're moving through our sales process.
Which is on our No Close.
Which is the No Close presentation, does it for you. It's awesome. But moving through that, they're in their mind, they're already, oh, well, I guess I might need more than 10.
Correct.
It's already setting that for you.
And the thing is, like, let's say our calculations on inflation are not correct, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then their family has more benefit to them, which we'll cover later in the needs. If our inflation calculations, let's say they're like, no, that's bogus, well, then now their family has to make up for that, right? Like, it's a win-win. Like, you're protecting your family in case, and if not, they're not losing out on anything.
Right. They die early, they have extra money.
Right, exactly.
And here's something to consider. I'm glad you brought that up, Austin, because when we are running leads, we're getting all these requests for information. What agents many times don't understand is that people buy life insurance 7 times in their lifetime, and it's because their needs change. And I can tell you, I've sold a policy, someone sent in a card again. Did that ever happen to you? You saw the same?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And there was either something left undone, there was an unsettling, there was something that's still there. I mean, every once in a while you have somebody who just loves sending in cards. That's going to happen. But
those are people that love to get mail. They're like, oh, they sent me something. I'll send them something back.
I'm so happy. Thank you
Absolutely.
for thinking of me. But yeah, there's just understanding that those needs, like life isn't static. I mean, things change. They have
People get married. People have kids. People have grandkids. They
Mm.
move into a house.
Yeah.
They get a car. They see someone close to them pass away that didn't have enough.
Their kids went through something. Well, anyway, I'm getting ahead of it. So go ahead.
You're,
Sorry about
well,
it.
you're getting excited. I kind of like it. I kind of like it. So then that moves us kind of into our third stage. So for one, we have layer one, burial and cremation costs, which is basic. 2 is setting the expectations that burial and cremation is going to cost more. And number 3 is it's going to be any bills or any debts that are left behind from them passing away. And, I tell my clients all the time.
Hey, thanks for watching this video. For more unbelievable content from the Life Insurance Academy podcast, subscribe now, and you can go watch your next video right here. Do it now. See you on the next video.